Good evening and welcome to Sports Overtime. We are here in our digital studio. You can watch Southeast Sports Plus Monday to Friday, 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We spent this past week previewing a lot of great games in and around college football and basketball with our friends from Nexstar Nation. Here's the best of. There's a kind of a log jam between those teams that are 3-2 and 2-3. But to get off to this start, 5 games into the season, and especially with that win over Texas, what did you make there as Buckyball continues to find its footing in conference play?
This is about as well of a start, as good of a start as they could have asked for. And to be, like you mentioned, there's that logjam that always happens in the SEC where there's 6 teams fighting for those first 2 spots.
Right.
And I think that we're seeing it play out just as it has the past few years. We're seeing it play out this year. And I think to be 4-1, only those 2 teams at the top of the standings, you really can't ask for anything better. So, a big win in Austin. It was the first time they've actually walked out of Austin since 2002 with a win. So a big, almost, they're always referred to as the little brother in that rivalry, and they got the bragging rights at least this time around.
And I think they avenged their football team there with a nice win there in Austin. Rashawn Agee has been a revelation for this team, 8th double-double of the season. What kind of impact does he have for this Buckyball squad?
Yeah, Texas head coach Sean Miller actually talked about him in the postgame, just saying how much of a difference maker he is, not only against them on Saturday night, but everybody to this point. And I think he's got a point. Agee's just been a force inside, and he might be undersized to a lot of outsiders looking in, but I think every coach in the SEC is not underestimating him in the post, and he's really been able to hold his own and really crash the defensive glass, and I think that's what's boded well for the Aggies to this point, and he's been playing like a star, the star that Bucky thought he was when he brought him into the program.
The pickable win was nice for Coach Paris and company. What was your overall take about getting that win over the Sooners?
A good start was a big part of the story. They jumped out 21-8, and Elijah Strong, when he's on, he's one of the best players in the league. He ended up scoring 13 of their first 17 points last night, and then ended up with 17 for the game. He was kind of the first half guy, Michi Johnson the second half guy. Tell you what's interesting with the South Carolina team. So they're 2-4 in the SEC. They got absolutely drilled last week at Arkansas, and that's a game that can happen to a team that's usually going to be at best a middle of the pack team. And I think folks would agree if this team finishes near the middle of the SEC, it would be an achievement. But I'd love to see, and I haven't done the study, and I probably should have had a crack staff of researchers who are working on other scientific projects in our building right now, wearing their white lab coats. But I should probably have had them work on a number of the final 5 minutes of games, particularly SEC games. What's the point differential? What's the scoring margin difference for USC? Because couldn't close the deal against Vanderbilt, and that was a game at home against a team that I think was still unbeaten at the time, but that was a winnable game. They just had a lull at the wrong time, and Vandy had a couple of runs. Should have closed the deal at home against Georgia, couldn't do that. At Auburn over the weekend, nip and tuck game. They eventually, lose that game by 4 points, but what happened in the final 5 minutes there?
Right.
And then last night, you just kind of felt like after they built this big lead, they're up by just 3 at the half. I don't know if we've talked about this, but the best way to kind of have an idea as to how a game might play out is at halftime, look at each team, look at the scoring margin, take the lead team, look at what their field goal percentage is, look at what the trailing team's field goal percentage is, and then split the difference in half. So if I'm up by 10, for example, at the half, then I want to be shooting at least, the margin needs to be 10% field goal when cut in half. That's going to tell me I'll probably win that game. So last night, South Carolina's up by 3. They were shooting 47% from the field. So was Oklahoma. So it reflected basically a tie game. But if you're in a situation where you're up by 5 at the half, but the other team's out shooting you, or is within that half margin of field goal percentage, that's usually going to portend. So Oklahoma in the second half, South Carolina gets the lead back up around 10. We kind of had a working margin of between like 6 and 10 points. Oklahoma got as close as 5, but you just kind of watch the last stages of that game, and I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, how are they going to blow it this time? What's going to go wrong? Or who's going to get hot at the right time for Oklahoma, hit a couple of threes, change the whole look of the game. So the big thing has been closing out games. They're an 11-8 team. I think if you look at their body of work, for the most part, they've probably won the games they should have to this point overall, and lost the games they should have. But the Georgia game at home, they led that most of the way. The Auburn game on the road, that would have been a great game to steal. They stole one at LSU. That was a very good win. And then the win the other night against a decent Oklahoma team. Not great. I mean, that could be an NIT team in Oklahoma. I don't know enough about them right now. But, I don't know if that's an NCAA team, and maybe I'll be proved wrong over the next 6 weeks. But anyway, It was a good win for them, and it's one they really needed for mental purposes as much as anything.
And there's a lot going on right now in Nashville with this Vanderbilt basketball team. Corey, the last time we talked, both the Vanderbilt men and women were both undefeated going into another week.
What did you guys do? You ruined it.
Yeah.
We had the good juju for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then lost 2 games, 2 close games, and really no shame in either one of those losses. But now sitting here with 2 losses and the way these kind of games have played out, big picture, is there cause for concern that maybe this team is heading back to the median, or do you think that this could just be fuel for Mark Byington and company as they move forward?
I think it's conference play, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago. You're going to lose games in conference play. Last I checked, Florida was the defending national champs, right?
Yep.
Okay, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
And ever since Texas lost at Aubrey Calvin with a huge 3. And ever since Texas lost in Knoxville, they've been pretty darn good. I don't know what they did their last game, but it was Texas's night. That was clear when they played down there in Austin. Texas, definitely brought their A game. Vanderbilt did not, and so Texas absolutely deserved that win. But you knew they weren't going to all be easy, and you knew they were going to take some on the chin. And truthfully, I think we would all agree you need to lose some to expose your warts and find what you really need to get better at. And Mark Byington has said, even when they were undefeated, our goal is not a long win streak or going undefeated. Our goal is championships.
Right.
And the path there is not always straight. And that's not discounting losses. You lost back-to-back games. And so clearly there are some things that they've got to do better, but I also don't think you can panic at this point.
There is a path to me, though, for Denver to win this game, and it is through their defense. And I'll talk about it from the Patriots standpoint, because the Patriots they've turned the ball over quite a bit here.
Yeah.
Probably to a semi-concerning level here for this team. I just feel like if you're Denver, it's I know the Patriots are favored, but it's not crazy given the fact that the Patriots have given the ball up.
Yeah, and I almost feel like if you are Denver, you have to rely on your defense in this game, because you just don't know what you're going to expect out of Jarrett Stidham this game. I mean, it's hard to put on the guy, hey, you need to go out there, throw the ball 40 times a game and throw for 300 yards and lead us to the Super Bowl. I just don't see that as a realistic possibility. But you're going up, Drake May's going up against Nick Bonino. He's going up against Pat Surtain. And this is a vaunted defense that has been able to turn the ball over on the offense. What does Womack say? We call them takeaways.
Oh, takeaways. Yeah.
They've been able to generate
the
takeaways.
language of it is takeaways, right.
And so I think that they could get Drake May flustered. I see a scenario where Drake May is flustered early in this game, and the Mile High City just starts getting crazy. They're going to go crazy for this one.
Absolutely. You mentioned the fact that they've been successful on the road. We heard from Mike Vrabel earlier this week about them going on the road and the mentality that it takes.
Well, I mean, I think we try to preach it through the entire offseason and being able to establish an identity that travels, overcoming mistakes that happen in the game, which there always are. And I think that you have to be resilient. I mean, there's going to be some swings and momentum. You're going to have to be able to handle the environment offensively and not put yourself in bad situations because, your operation isn't very good. So there's a lot of things that we try to practice, knowing that we're going to have to play half of our games on the road.
there's been a lot of SEC representation throughout the playoffs, and especially at the quarterback position for the Denver Broncos. It's a double former SEC quarterback and former double Auburn quarterbacks going from Bo Nix, who unfortunately broke his ankle in the divisional round, to Jarrett Stidham, another former Auburn player. These two went in reverse order as far as where they stood at Auburn. Bo Nix filled in for Jarrett Stidham. Now the other way around. What do you expect there from number 8?
You know, I don't know, because this is one of those wild card games. We didn't really know what to expect from Phillip Rivers when he came back and played against the Seahawks. And in my opinion, I thought Phillip Rivers had one of the better games, especially for a guy that hadn't played in 5 years. But it would be hard to believe that Denver wouldn't run the football a ton this game, not only with R.J. Harvey. I believe J.K. Dobbins is starting to trend towards returning, so that would be a big help here too. But I just don't see Jarrett Stidham throwing 30-plus passes this game, because you don't. If you're Sean Payton, and Sean Payton is one of the best coaches in the NFL. Yeah. I would expect him to have a great game plan cooked up, and I would expect Jarrett Stidham, as I mentioned the other day, Patriots don't do well in championship-style games against backup quarterbacks. Nick Foles said it too. They
don't have a good history with it as of right now. I'm also right there with you. I don't think they'll ask him to do a lot. If the defense could turn it over and give Stidham some short fields, lean on the running game, I think they have a shot here. Of course, we got to do some predictions. We did it yesterday. We did it with the NFC. Now I got to do it with the AFC.
Give me the Broncos.
Oh, wow.
Give me the Broncos.
The Broncos to pull off the upset.
I am high on the Broncos right now.
Okay. I'm going to go with my homer pick. Yeah. I'm going to pick the Patriots. I do think it'll be closer.
Boring.
Closer to what they expect. I mean, I just don't see this team losing to a backup quarterback, and this just feels like a team of destiny to me, ready to go to Super Bowl 60 there in the Bay Area. Stay with us here on Sports Overtime, and remember, you can watch our show, Southeast Sports Plus, from 2 to 4 o'clock on the free WKRG Plus app. You can find us on your Roku, Fire TV, or Apple TV device.
Michael Lasasso decided that he's going to turn pro after winning the NCAA championship, individual championship. He's going to be joining Phil Mickelson's High Flyers. Was this a little bit of a surprise move, or were Ole Miss fans kind of just waiting for the day that this was going to happen?
No, I think it's a surprise move, but I also think it's a shot in the dark for Liv as well. You guys didn't tell me we were going to talk about Michael Lasasso. I had already threw on my Augusta stuff. This is just, I'm on brand I'm PGA all day. So when we look at what Liv has been going through most recently, losing some big names that they took a huge swing on about 5-6 years ago, Brooks Koepka and whatnot, that you don't know what the future is in store for Bryson DeChambeau and even John Rahm. So these guys, they want to get back to playing competitive golf and have the focus back on them. So the easiest way for Liv to kind of continue to rebrand themselves is by getting the hottest talent, and those guys that the PGA are sinking out coming out of college and overseas as well. And Michael Lasasso, I mean, that swing, I don't know if you guys play golf. I try to play golf sometimes.
Yeah, Patrick plays golf. He's really good at golf, yeah.
I'm in the single digits.
So
I'm at like a 4.8 right now. 4.8.
Well, you know what that swing looks like for Lasasso.
You want to talk? They teach you got to sit into the swing, and I mean, let me tell you what, he definitely gets his legs into that. I remember watching.
He just makes my back, my side just hurts to see him really kind of dig into it. But I mean, he's gonna be a talent, and he's proven that. But we also have to think he won a couple things on last year with the Rebels. But he did finish third overall when it came to the national championship. So I think it's a bright pickup for Liv Golf. But for Lasasso, at this day and age, what's the difference between him joining Liv and hopping in the transfer portal and making a whole lot of cash at a very young age? And I think that's he could eventually end up on the PGA Tour down the road sometime soon anyway.
Well, I mean, since you have the Masters quarter set bond, I might as well ask you, were you a little surprised that he basically gave up his Masters eligibility? I know he played in the U.S. Open at Oakmont in 2025, but were you a little bit surprised that he was like, you know what, this is bigger than just playing in the Masters this year. I'm going to go and join LIV and presumably get my bag, so to speak?
100%. I think I've seen this. I can't remember the guy's name. He's from Mississippi somewhere. But yeah, he was one of the low AMs for the Masters back in, I think, 2021, 2022. And, you know, he did all the majors, right? Then he decided to, all right, the PGA's log jam. I'm going to take myself to LIV Golf. So I do think it's pretty shocking, the fact that he did this so early in the PGA Tour season, knowing he had exemptions coming up. And maybe the thought process is he can grab this cash now, and like I aforementioned, like he can get back on tour and hopefully earn that card, which it seems so risky, right? Like if you already have a guaranteed spot to play at Augusta, I mean, you're playing with house money. That's what it always feels like.
Georgia, a little bit like Auburn, was like, okay, we're better than this. We feel like we can win this game, even though everyone's given a whole lot of love to Arkansas and a whole lot of love to their players and a whole lot of love to John Calipari. And it's almost like Arkansas, every game they go into, no matter where they are in the rankings, no matter where they are, you know, however they're doing, they're dominating the conversation because of Coach Cal. And I think that fuels these other teams just a little bit more, because you talk to these players after the game and they're like, they weren't giving us a chance. And I'm going, Georgia, you're not that bad, dude. You're not that
You're
bad.
ranked.
Like, what?
You're ranked.
What? Yeah, but that's the same thing like Vanderbilt over here. Vanderbilt's over here like, oh, we're coming to Bud Walton Arena tonight. We're gonna, no, guys, y'all are ranked. Y'all are supposedly a better team than Arkansas. Why are you acting like the underdog here? But it's this Coach Calipari.
He's got that aura.
What do you call it? Yes, this je ne sais quoi, right? This aura. And everyone feels like they're an underdog against Arkansas. It's weird. It's weird. I've never experienced that because I've never covered a Coach Cal team.
Right.
But it's weird.
Stay with us here on Sports Overtime. And remember, you can watch our show, Southeast Sports Plus, from 2 to 4 o'clock on the free WKRG Plus app. You can find us on your Roku, Fire TV, or Apple TV device.
I think when you can run your mouth and you can back it up and bring in those guys and bring in 4 dudes, not just 4 dudes from Ole Miss, and bring them to Baton Rouge and be like, all right, that's what I want.
What's
like,
Deion got,
that
leaders
is
and
such
dogs?
A huge,
Yeah.
It's just, man, it's crazy because, like, again, y'all know that I went to Ole Miss. I got my undergrad from there. But for Lane Kiffin to sign more 5-star recruits in the first 5 days he's in Baton Rouge than his entire time in Oxford, like, bruh, that is a flex.
Good. So I believe the grand total is going to be north of $20 million for this transfer portal roster. And just taking into the fact that we already talked with you about Sam Levitt. There's some concerns there with the foot injury and some of the other guys that he was able to get to come to Baton Rouge from Ole Miss. Do you think they should be in consideration for title contenders in year one, just based off of this roster alone?
Oh, I think so. And it's crazy because, like, I can't even name all the dudes. Like, I was doing my homework and I was like, my hand was hurting with writing all of the background. And I was like, holy moly. For spring ball, I'm going to be like, who is... There's so many. But I think the level of guys that they brought in speaks to the volume of this class. There's a difference. Brian Kelly brought in 18 guys last year, had the #1 transfer portal. Only 8 of them had 1 year of eligibility. Some of them were great, some of them not so much. A lot of the offensive line, they're gone. They needed to be gone. They were one of the worst offensive lines in the SEC. Couldn't protect the quarterback. But, like, the guys that they're bringing in here are experienced, real deal dogs. That's what you need, but that's what we had been so accustomed to seeing in Baton Rouge. And I feel like under Brian Kelly, he got away with it because maybe they missed, maybe they weren't great at building that roster, they weren't great at evaluating talent. But Lane Kiffin, that's one thing that we can say, he's a great play caller, and he knows how to evaluate talent, and he's got the coaching staff that is putting their nose to the ground and going after it. Lane Kiffin is in New Orleans, hitting up all the schools in New Orleans yesterday and today. Like, bruh, I am so excited.
Flying his private jet everywhere, trying to flip everyone.
Yes, like he's got no shame, and I'm about that. Like, I'm about a coach who's ready to go after it and who wants it, and that man wants it.
Yeah, and you got to in this day and age, and we've seen what the transfer portal can do. We see a national champion on Monday night that wouldn't have been a national champion without the transfer portal and everything else, and now you have the portal king right there in your backyard. Chessa, you've been so great. Thank you so much for joining us here at Southeast Sports
Showing
Plus.
off those guns.
Yeah, I was about to say, when you did this earlier, I was like, hey, I have a wardrobe request next time. Next time, go sleeveless so we can see the guns in action.
Show off the guns. I'll do that next time.
I love it. That's our show tonight. Remember, you can watch Southeast Sports Plus Monday to Friday from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock on the free WKRG Plus app. Catch us on your Roku, Fire TV, or Apple TV device. Good night.